Hello there, rain garden enthusiasts. My name is Jennifer White. I'm with the Portage Park District, and I'm going to be one of your instructors for our rain garden program. Congratulations on choosing to not only learn how to make a beautiful addition to your garden, but also to help improve water quality in your community. So the first class in our rain garden program is going to focus on how installing a rain garden truly can make a difference within your watershed. So that's going to start with learning more about what a watershed is and learning what watershed you live in, and therefore what waterway you're going to be impacting by adding a rain garden to your landscape. I'm going to be joined in this video by my co-teacher, Lynn Vogel with the Portage Soil and Water Conservation District, as well as Anthony Lurch with the Soil and Water Conservation District. So let's start with that question. What exactly is a watershed? A watershed is an area of land that drains to a particular water body. So that might be the ditch outside your home, or the stream down the street, or Lake Erie, or the ocean. No matter where you are in the world, you are in a watershed. And no matter what watershed you're in, they are all influenced by what's going on within the water cycle. And if you go back to third grade or so, you probably learned about the water cycle, and that includes transpiration, evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. And the same water that we have now is the same water we've had from the beginning of time. It just continues to cycle through the water cycle. And so what that water comes in contact with when it rolls off the land and runs through the watershed can influence its quality. So is it picking up certain pollutants along the way? Is it washing sediment off the ground and into the water? All of those things impact the quality of the water downstream. So we are in a pretty awesome place geographically in Portage County. We are actually at a major continental divide watershed break between Lake Erie and the Ohio River. So the area located in blue in the diagram flows to Lake Erie. The area located in pink flows to the Ohio River. What you're looking at now is a map of Portage County and our 5 major watersheds. That's right, I said 5 major watersheds. How cool is that? Now, one thing I want you to notice about this map is the shape of all of the waterways that are noted on there, and the blue lines that you see on the map. All of those indicate the smaller streams that feed into larger streams, or reservoirs that feed into larger streams or reservoirs, and it just builds from there. As you look at this watershed map of Portage County, picture where you live. Can you tell by looking at the map approximately which watershed you're living in? Now, if you look at the map, the red line that you see delineates that Lake Erie watershed from the Ohio River watershed. So I'm going to go through these 5 major watersheds, starting with the 3 that drain into the Lake Erie watershed. The first in pink is the Chagrin River watershed, and that's located in the eastern part of Aurora as well as the western part of Manaway Township. And the Chagrin River drains directly to Lake Erie. Next, we have the Cuyahoga River watershed, which is our second largest watershed within Portage County. Now, I know a number of you indicated on your survey forms that you live in the Tinkers Creek watershed, which tells me that you live in the Streetsboro or Aurora area. Tinkers Creek drains first into the Cuyahoga River and then up to Lake Erie. That makes Tinkers Creek a sub-watershed to the Cuyahoga River, which is a sub-watershed to Lake Erie. See how that works? The third watershed that we have in Portage County that drains to Lake Erie is the Grand River. And the Grand River is located, just a tiny little section of that watershed is located up in the northeastern part of Nelson Township. Our remaining 2 major watersheds in Portage County both drain to the Ohio River watershed. The largest of those in Portage County anyway is the Mahoning River watershed, which covers the majority of the eastern side of the county. If you live down in Suffield Township, in the very, very southwestern part of the township, you may be part of the Tuscarawas River watershed, which also drains to the Ohio River. So what does all this mean? Well, for starters, because of this continental divide that basically cuts the county in half, we in Portage County are literally at the geographic top of the hill. So all the water that lands here flows downstream to someone else. And so it's our responsibility to be good stewards of that water as it moves downstream and continues its run through the water cycle. So even though we as humans are an integral part of our natural environment, we're not always a positive influence. As development increases, there are more demands that are placed on the environment. Impervious surfaces, those are things like roofs and sidewalks and streets and driveways, all of those areas where the water cannot soak into the ground causes the water to run off very fast. So with our amazing minds, we developed these stormwater management systems like storm sewers and storm drains to be able to allow that water to run as quickly as possible away from our infrastructure and into the closest waterway. And while that's an amazing way to protect our infrastructure, all of this quick, fast runoff really has done a number on our streams because any of that stormwater runoff goes directly down the storm drain and outlets directly into the closest water body, carrying with it whatever it picked up along the way. Anthony with the Portage Soil and Water Conservation District is now going to share a little bit of background on the stormwater plan for Portage County.
In 2009, the Portage County Commissioners formed the Stormwater District. The Stormwater District consists of the Portage County Engineers, Portage Soil Water Conservation District, and the Portage County Health Department. The district was formed to help with the EPA National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, also known as the Clean Water Act. With Phase 2 of this, the regulated communities for the municipal separate storm system have minimum control measures to meet. There are 6 of them, and this district helps with the communities meet each of those minimum control measures. Stormwater goes wherever it wants. It doesn't follow political boundaries, it doesn't follow county guidelines, so it's each of our responsibilities to help reduce stormwater.
When you install a rain garden, you're not only adding a beautiful garden of native plants to your yard, but you're also helping with the stormwater program in Portage County. Rain gardens collect and filter that rainwater that runs off of impervious surfaces like our rooftops and driveways. Those surfaces lead to increases in runoff and often result in increases in flooding downstream. As water travels over those hard surfaces, it picks up pollutants, and that polluted stormwater runoff enters our streams and lakes. In fact, it's one of the leading threats to water quality. Installing a rain garden is one way that you can manage rainwater in your yard while also improving water quality for your neighbors downstream. I like to think of rain gardens as little speed bumps for stormwater runoff. It gives water a place to slow down and soak into the ground, so that reduces that stormwater runoff that we see with our impervious surfaces. I'm now going to turn things over to Lynn Vogel with the Soil and Water Conservation District so she can show you a really cool project that the district worked on with one of our local schools.
One of the ways the Portage County Stormwater District operates to help in the community is by providing stormwater grants for schools. We're at Biomed Science Academy in Shalersville. This is where they have the 2nd through the 4th graders, and they received a stormwater grant through the Stormwater District. And this rain garden is part of the stormwater grant. So what we're doing with this rain garden is we're taking water from this roof. You can see the downspout, and it's being discharged from the roof into this rain garden. And one of the ways that this is a really good thing for kids is you can bring them out and they can study. Like, for instance, right now there's a big bumblebee right here that's collecting pollen off of this vervain. And one of the things that you can do with students is to bring them out into a garden that's full of native plants, and they can study the reactions and the interactions and the relationships between insects, birds, and plants in our ecosystems. They can also learn that the reason that this was designed was to control stormwater, to let it spread out and slow down and sink into the ground. And by doing so, by being filtered by the soil, the stormwater coming off that roof is not causing erosion of the soil, and it's also also not picking up any fertilizers or herbicides or pesticides that would have been used to treat the grass. So it's a great place to also study weather patterns, because rain and climate change are things that are going to be important for this next generation. So they already have a rain gauge over here in the garden, which is a perfect measure for second graders to come and see how much rain is actually being collected. We have trees. We have, I think, 10 of these. So classroom students can actually measure close to the trunk of a tree. They can go out under the canopy of a tree, and they can go out into the open lawn, and they can kind of compare and learn and see how trees also help reduce stormwater.
I don't know about you, but whenever I have a chance to put a garden in that not only looks beautiful, but also functions in 2 or 3 or 4 more ways, I get pretty excited. So how excited are you to install your little stormwater speed bump, aka rain garden? So it's true. I geek out a little bit on watersheds, but how amazing is it that we have 5 major watersheds in Portage County? So awesome. So I hope that you learned what watershed you live in, and therefore what waterway your rain garden is going to be impacting. Congratulations on finishing your first rain garden class. Our next class is going to be focused on where to put your rain garden and how to plan for it. Special thank you to my friends at the Portage Soil and Water Conservation District for being partners on this project, and to the Ohio EPA for the funding that was provided through the Ohio Environmental Education Fund.